Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Jami King, my friend, this means it is time for you and I to venture into another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. You are going to take me and the audience to the Shenango Valley in Pennsylvania. Yet please allow me to recharge. Much better. This is going to be a very interesting and educational episode. I do hope everyone is ready to seep in this knowledge. Without further ado, let's get ready for Jami and I to take a walk into the darkness. My creatures of the night, yes, once again, it is time for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy. We will own this night. Our co-host is one of my good friends, Jami King, who specializes in Bigfoot and Sasquatch encounters and is also a part of Small Town Monsters. How you doing tonight, Jami?
Real good. Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. No, I appreciate having you on board tonight. How you been?
I'm good. It's springtime. We've got a little bit of rain here, but Shenango Valley's doing good.
Yeah, we've definitely had some interesting storms up this way for sure. We lost power. I can't even count more times than I can remember in the past 10 years in a week with some of the ice storms and snowstorms. So yeah, it's been gnarly.
Yeah, you're in Maine, so that's probably a lot of different weather up there, windy.
I'm in southern Maine, but yeah, we're definitely up near the Canadian. So, the weather can change pretty drastically and pretty quickly for sure.
Yeah. Similar here too.
Yeah, exactly. We're up in the Northeast. Basically, I'd like to tonight dive into the Shenango Valley and some of those topics. Just get your opinion in general on your thought process of Dogman, but also in the Northeast and especially in Pennsylvania.
For me, mainly my research is basically with Bigfoot, Sasquatch in the Shenango Valley here, where my wife and I had an encounter. But we've had taken several reports of Dogman, and I think recently you just put up your website, and one of our prints that we cast is on your website, and I think on your Facebook page too.
Oh yeah, we got you right up there, right at the beginning. Those tracks are definitely some of the better tracks that have been sent to us for sure, with the definition and that extra pad and claw on the back, and just really the capability of, you can see how the creature was gripping the ground, and those castings slash plasters are amazing as well. So yes, you are correct. You are up on the website, the North American Dogman Project.com, and the 207 main Dogman page for the North American Dogman Project.
Kenny, what I thought was pretty impressive is, I don't know, I've not really seen a lot of Dogman prints, even online. So for me, that was kind of interesting to look at your website and compare Sasquatch prints and potential Bigfoot prints with what's Dogman. And what kind of struck me was that there's a lot of similarities with the one that we had cast here not that long ago with some of the stuff that you have up there.
Yes, and that's also why I reached out to you to collaborate and just pick your brain in the beginning, is because not that someone that researches Dogman and is out in the field finding evidence is less credible. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Yet you had no knowledge of Dogman, really. I mean, you were aware, but that's not anything that you really cared to dive into. And then you come across that are pretty much something you're not even remotely searching for, and they are just, the specs on them are gnarly for sure. And when you look at those tracks, as you said, with obviously a Bigfoot Sasquatch foot is much wider and looks similar to a human foot, but also the tracks you casted is what I try to explain to people. When you look at those tracks, it also has a very similar kind of build as a human foot. It's narrow, but it's also got width to it, and it looks like something could push up and then hold itself up and walk on that type of foot. Where, like our tracker says, when you look at a Great Dane footprint or even a larger Mastiff, whatever, look at those footprints. It still looks like a large dog print that couldn't have the capability of being bipedal because the foot isn't long enough to support the whole entire girth of the body.
I mean, I think originally when you contacted me, about potentially using these prints, I think I was talking to you live, and I was on the phone with you when I was casting it. And I'm pretty sketch at my casting ability. I've cast quite a few prints, but I'm still not the best. So I was really worried about the continuity of the actual print that would come out of the ground. And the whole time that I was there casting the print, it kept going over in my mind because I was there by myself. My wife couldn't come that night, and it was like nighttime when I had cast it. And I remember sitting there waiting for the cast to be prepared to take out of the ground, and I kept looking around, thinking about the several Dogman encounters that I had taken reports for. And one was like less than probably a mile from where I had casted this print, so it kept going over in my head. And I think I was on the phone with you, I remember.
Yeah, let's hit a little time out here. I mean, so my audience, listen to this. Yes, I did tell Jamie I would love to get a casting of this. Yet I did not realize my friend was going to head back to a potential Dogman location after sunset and call me live by himself as he's casting a footprint. Yeah, it was a successful expedition, but I would not advise anyone who wants to send me evidence to do something along the lines of that. Please be in a proper and safe situation. I'm very glad that turned out well, but yes.
Yeah, I just remembered that it was kind of like a cold day. It was, I think it was still winter, and the soil was a little different than I'm usually casting in. So I think that's why the footprint is so clear. And the thing that I noticed first and foremost was how large the print was, and that the pad, there's not a it's not a full print like you would see with the Sasquatch print where the foot lays flat down. And this is going into your Dogman area where more about the foot structure, but it did seem like whatever it was pushed down with the claws, and then it stepped back with its foot, almost like it was on its toes at first, like running. So the print appears large, and it is very large compared to my hand. And like, I see prints all the time when I'm hiking, and I was literally thinking to myself, this is the largest coyote that I've ever seen. This is the largest dog print I've ever seen. And like, this is how it all started. I came home, and I had posted this print on my friend's paranormal page, Agents of the Unexplained. It's Bill Rigby. So I posted it on his page, and it went like kind of viral. And then I think that's how you got a hold of me. And then from there, I had thought about casting it, but then I was like, you know what? You contacted me, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go out and cast it, because even out of my own curiosity, I would like to see more detail of the print when it comes out of the ground. And that's what kind of why I went back out and did that.
No, I totally appreciate it, and it's definitely some really great evidence. Funny story. Well, I guess Dogman encounters might not be considered funny, but it is a funny story. One of my eyewitnesses from Texas actually sent me that page and was like, check this out. And that's actually how I did get a hold of you, through that page. I was able to contact you. Like I was saying with the footprints, I will put up a chart too, and just check out on your own a coyote print. It's tiny. Coyotes are obviously larger up in the Northeast than they are potentially out west. But even in comparison to a normal dog, it's a small print. It doesn't. No, that would be the largest coyote of all time, because that's a larger print than a wolf's print. And we're actually working on, a good friend of mine, Blender Wizard. He works on ArtStation and does a ton of amazing stuff, but he is making a full rendered Type 1 Dogman based off of our encounters that we've documented. And I sat down with him and decided which kind of version out of all the types we've recorded he wanted to work on. And then from there, I was able to get the specs, the height, etc. And he's made this live looking Dogman that crawls, runs, straight up nightmare fuel. Hopefully by, I believe, fall at the latest, it should be done, because we're the North American Dogman Project. Jody and I are working on a documentary for Germantown dropping around fall, so we really want to get that in there.
Wow, that's really good. I mean, I think Jody even started in Sasquatch research, if I'm correct.
Yeah, funny story on that too. We're working on trying to do a reboot of Monster Quest at some point in time. And Jody was one of the first times I saw him live, because I found out about him when I was back in high school in the North American Dogman Project. But the first time I ever put a face to him was on a Monster Quest episode by Doug Hychek, who's a legend. And Jody was out working with some Sasquatch evidence and tracking him through some areas, because yes, he was, I believe, one of the head of the Eastern Sasquatch Alliance or something along the lines of that. I can't remember. But yes, he used to dive into UFO and Sasquatch type activity before he really got into the Dogman back in, I believe it was 2001.
Okay. Like I just know him as sort of a pioneer in Ohio with the Sasquatch research. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that he's the one that coined the Ohio Grassman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I try to know my history a little bit, and I might be wrong, but I think he's the one.
Yes, no, you are very, very correct on that. Jody is a legend, and he did first dub the term Ohio Grassman. So you have done your research. Kudos right there.
Okay. Yeah, and like there's a lot of people. Like I met him a few times at the Ohio Bigfoot conference, and that conference itself is the largest in North America for Sasquatch research. And I don't know, like my question is, do you have Dogman conferences?
Yeah, Jody actually does travel around and do those as well. We, for a little bit, were under construction with the North American Dogman Project, and we kind of had some things on hold. We revamped everything, and as you saw on the website, we got that all back up. We have all our state chapters running, regional directors, and yeah, we're definitely trying to set up some things like that. But with online technology, we're doing a lot of live streams and collaborations like that, because people don't also have to travel, and they can ask all the questions as well and see everything we're presenting, but just in digital format too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're in 2024, and it saves people time. For example, you're in Pennsylvania and you're just a call away. You don't have to drive up here to Maine to come and get me, or I don't have to drive down there to look at your track, to take pictures. You're there. You can take pictures. You can cast it. You send it to me. I can look at it. I can see the measurements. That's how the world works now. That's why technology is great. We have people in different regions. I'm in Maine. You're down there, but you can still be doing things and keeping in contact with me.
And what I really appreciate that people work together. Like you're actually asking me about a print that I found because somebody saw it online in Texas, and then I went out and cast it. So people are working together. Like the Bigfoot community, I don't know, sometimes they're pretentious and that they don't want to cross over with Sasquatch or Dogman type reports. But my wife and I are open to all the unknowns in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And like literally we're always taking anyone's report, whether it be a troll, like we took a troll report at this microbrewery in Pennsylvania, where all the employees kept seeing this little troll that would walk behind the brewery. So we take those reports too, and it's always fascinating to see different people's realities and what they're seeing.
No, that's very interesting for sure. And to be a good journalist, you always do need to subjectively and objectively look at things. That's what I try to do. Right at now, I have 524 pages and counting, 524 and a half, because I worked on it last night some more of Dogman encounters. As wanting to bring merit to this topic, I just feel I need to focus directly on that. And I do think it's cool how other researchers branch out, which is why I have other people that are more specialized in different topics. I will send other people to, or if I think something falls into that category, again, ask them or send eyewitnesses that way. My goal is just to be the most reliable Dogman content creator and Dogman person that people can come to, and just know that I'm going to put out facts and I'm not going to put out things that are fictitious. Don't get me wrong, I wish all these crazy Dogman stories that we hear from people were real. That would be amazing. Yet at the end of the day, they're not. Are people having Dogman encounters? Yes. And as I said, I have 524 and a half pages. There is so much embellishment that it needs to really be stopped. I mean, people can't be, I've said it so many times, using TikTok or other platforms like that to say this is paranormal. At the end of the day, let's be real. If you and I were out hunting or camping or just enjoying a day and a dog man comes towards us, are you sitting there to pull out your phone? Are you unlocking your screen to then open TikTok and record this? Because I don't know about you, I'm running, man. And if you are doing that, you no longer are going to exist, because, like, let's be real. So for people to be naive and hit the like buttons on that and just really love and seep all that stuff up, it just shows you a sign of society, and how even though we claim as people we want the truth, it's very apparent we don't, that we actually like fiction. We don't like facts. Or why would all these fictitious channels that are portraying stuff as factual getting all this love?
Right. I mean, you make a point there for sure. The people that I've interviewed with Dogman, you kind of have to step back and like think about the witness themselves. And, you're not just listening to the story, but for me, it's about also paying attention to the witness and paying attention to what they say before and after, and, their thought processes on how they're describing something. And I remember I was with Brian Seach and his Center for Unexplained Events, and we were out at this area of Mercer County, Pennsylvania, and the witness was a woman, and she was a nurse, and literally she and her, I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her husband at the time, but he was driving her to work early in the morning, and they witnessed this thing barreling across a field on all fours. But long story short, this thing reached up and reached for her door handle. But after the report, I had to stand back and think to myself, this witness is actually a nurse, so she knows anatomy. She's describing something that I was just listening and trying to figure out what she was describing. And basically, she was describing a dogman like werewolf type creature. There's a lot of honesty. She was honest. I didn't find her to be anything other than honest and sincere. And her boyfriend or husband at the time, same way.
No, that's excellent to definitely, when you're talking to somebody, look at those type of specs and just try to put together the puzzle. You, as a researcher, and I as a researcher, that's really our obligation. And one thing I've also noticed too is a lot of people take it personal when something is debunked. And I think that's a horrible way to also approach something. I have no attachment to anything that I posted on the North American Dogman Project.com or anything in my Facebook groups. I didn't take any of those images. I didn't cast any of those prints. You know what my job is my job is to debunk things. And just because something right now is in potential Dogman evidence doesn't mean eventually it won't end up in debunked, because that's the goal. And for people to be upset about that, that just shows, in my eyes, like hoaxing, and also the aspect of not really wanting to share research and just a selfish approach to it. Because at the end of the day, it's a good thing if people come and debunk things for us or help us add clarity. Just like my book, just because something's in there as a credible story, yet later on we're able to find things that plug holes into that story, well, that's what we're supposed to do.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, even when I put myself out there and I put that print up on Agents of the Unexplained, and I kind of put it up there, and then I just let people talk about the print itself, and then it went kind of viral with your friend in Texas. But I literally couldn't go back and read the comments. I was trying to keep up with all the comments that were going on with the print itself, and people give you answers that are at their comfort level. So a lot of people would say it's a beaver, or it was a large wolf, or like whatever. Somebody said it looked like a kangaroo, and I have to stop myself from reacting to all that, because literally I know I do a micro study here in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, and I know tracks. I'm familiar with all kinds of animal tracks, and it's just not a track that I've seen before. So that's why I originally photographed it and put it up on the page, not knowing that you would want me to go back out and cast it. And I'm kind of glad that I did cast it, because I look at it a lot, and I still to this day can't say to you that it's not a just super large dog, because it could be, and I'm comfortable saying it could be Dogman, it might be a super large wolf, I don't know.
That's the way it should be approached, though. That's excellent. So again, kudos on that aspect, because this hasn't been proven. So for someone to say this is definitive, this is a dogman piece of fur, or this is a dogman footprint,
No,
or a
right.
dogman bone, that's just not a good way to approach it. And that's why I always use the term potential, because this is potential. Yet, yes, I do believe there is a lot of merit in credence, yet it is still potential.
Yes, there's potential to it all, and literally, I'm the biggest critic of my own stuff. Whenever I do something, I criticize, like when I'm counting sticks in a structure that I believe that a Sasquatch made. I'll take photographs, I'll draw it, I'll count how many sticks are in this structure. I'll look for like human activity around it. Are there gum wrappers? Are there human footprints? What kind of prints are around it? I'll sit back and I'll observe the area. Just like when I was doing this cast, I sat back, and like I'm literally, all these things are going through my mind as I'm waiting for this cast to dry in the ground, and all these reports kept coming back into my mind. But I had to sit back and think to myself, if this was something, why was it here? And some of the observations that I made when I cast this print is, whatever this was had walked out into the water and dug this huge hole in the where the waves come up and the shoreline meets the ground. Something had dug it up, and my only thought was it was possibly digging for clams, because we have freshwater clams there.
Where there's water, there's a food source, which would make
Yes.
exactly complete logical sense. And no, I think that's why you're looked upon as a quality researcher in your field, and also why I've continued to keep in touch with you. And hey, man, if you were a hoaxer, at the end of the day, that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you bad that you're trying to misguide something, but you could still be a great family man, etc. But I would no longer value your opinion in regards to what I'm doing, etc. So the reason I stayed in touch with you is because, as I said, you're a quality researcher in the field you do specialize in, and also you have other people with merit that believe in your abilities, like Small Town Monsters. So no, you're definitely doing a really good job in that aspect. So what are your thoughts about the Shenango Valley in general, and some of the infamous, I guess, Dogman cases there? Could you elaborate on that for a bit?
So I'm going to look back to the people that came before me, which is Brian Seach and his wife Terry Seach. They have one of the largest cryptozoological libraries in probably the world. They have huge database on reports all over the United States, but mainly their focus is on Pennsylvania. So originally, the Shenango Valley had this story about called the Shenango Dog Boy, which they've since debunked as a person that had that hypertrichinosis, which is like it grows hair on its body all over. But there have been reports other than that. So, like I go by the Sasquatch reports that I've taken in Mercer County and the following counties around here, and including Ohio because it borders on Ohio. And Shenango Dogman, Shenango Werewolf, there have been many, many claims. And I've personally taken probably 4 reports in this Mercer County area.
Yes, interesting. No, you've reached out to me with a few of those reports. Touching back on the Shenango Valley child, Do you know, was this child spotted? Was he in the forest kind of by himself, or was he spotted in areas where there were people, which would definitely solidify that he would have been with a family, or was he just out playing in this valley by himself?
Well, I'm going to say that it was debunked, but I'm going to say that it's a case that I would leave open because one of the witnesses is still alive, and the report was taken on a road called Hopper Road, and it was filmed for one of the TV networks. I forget the actual show that it was on, but they said that this creature had clothes on. So the fact that it had clothes made people think that it was like somebody that was like it was part human, or it was a human of some sort. And I think that's one of the reasons that it was debunked. But I've also heard other stories, and they're on the other side of the lake. So we have the Shenango Lake. So we have one side that it's the Ohio border. The other side is Pennsylvania. So the side that was documented was the Pennsylvania side. There's also stories that come out of the closer to the Ohio border that put this thing on more of a perspective of being like some kind of wild animal, not so much as a human like what you find on the other side of the lake.
Mind blowing. I definitely appreciate that historical references right there. There was a lot in there that I'm actually not too familiar with, so this is excellent. What if I was to blow your mind a little bit and say that there have been a couple cases over in the United Kingdom and Europe of something that looks very similar, a young child wearing clothes that were ragged, yet it did look like a canine type boy, and the cynocephali in Greece in the Roman times around that whole entire area up to even in 2001. Jody was talking about some reports in Iraq where merchants were talking about basically cynocephali that lived deep within the mountains that would come down sometimes and trade in the marketplace. They would wear human type like clothing too. So that's why I actually was asking you if it was in an area that was deeply colonized or more out in the forest, because there are other reports of that, of them wearing clothing as well or stealing clothing. So it was just intriguing.
I mean, I'm open-minded to the fact that there's also Sasquatch reports where they say that these things have worn clothes. There was a group of Amish people. Amish are a religious organization in Pennsylvania they're all over the East Coast and a little bit into the Midwest, but they've had claims with Sasquatch wearing clothes too. So I mean, I don't know. I'm open-minded enough to say that if people are making these reports, it's very possible. And you're going back historically with these claims that are coming out of Iraq, and I think that's pretty fascinating when you put those in perspective with what modern day people are seeing.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with me. I'm a skeptic, but also I approach it as a believer because nothing has been proven or debunked. And I'm not somebody, I don't just believe everything I see. I don't believe all these AI images. That's not how I approach this. I approach the historical aspects, as you just mentioned. That's
Yeah.
what brings more merit to me. Not that in 2024, someone's encounter isn't credible, but yet there's so much reason to hoax now to get clout and just misguide people. Yet in elder times, that wasn't really something that was okay. That would make you looked upon as a heretic, like my friend Ryan Tremblay was saying in older times. So when these people are reporting this, like I spoke to him about, why would Alexander the Great Herodotus? Why would these people waste their time to speak of dog people? They're trying to conquer the world. It's not something that they waste their time on. And that brings more credence to the reports in my eyes from those time periods, because it was more taboo to even speak about those things. Yet these people were so terrified of what they saw, they felt the need to report that. Why do you think it is that potential Sasquatch researchers are so against looking into this? Because I've run into that with a few people that I knew who were really good at tracking and things like that, but they are Sasquatch experts. They just straight up cold shouldered me, even when I tried to present really good merit evidence.
Well, I think it has to do more with the fact that it's like they consider the primate side of it. So I think they're wanting science to take them credibly into the idea that Sasquatch is just this undiscovered primate. whereas like a dog and a human crossing couldn't possibly be. And I think that's where people get stuck. I myself am open. I don't necessarily put anything in a category. I only go by what I understand. And, like I think even myself and my wife were kind of like a little bit obscure with the way we think, because our encounter with Sasquatch was far more spiritual than it was very physical, but it was super spiritual too. So our take is a little bit different, and I look at all of these cryptids in a similar way.
No, that's a really good way to approach that right there, and stay completely open minded. Yet, so that's what I was trying to present to some of these scientific people, though. It's amazing. I have an environmentalist on board now. I'm actually talking to her on Monday. Her name's Colleen. She is just finishing up her paperwork to be part of the North American Dogman Project. She has two biologists that are stumped by your tracks. So they've never seen anything like that in North America, and yet also are still a little confused as to these coyote something that they thought potentially maybe wolves, but wolves aren't really in that area, or mountain lions. That's what we're trying to approach it as. And if people look at the different dogman encounters, I think people are getting the term dogman immediately assuming werewolf slash human genetic mutations.
Right. That's
Was,
the
was
confusing part.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to break this down real quick because we are going to definitely save some of this for our next time we talk. But that's more of the scientific side, which is what people are doing now with cloning. So, yes, that is going to be an aspect of this. But now we're going to rewind to actual historical living entities that did exist at one point in time. So, there were ice bridges that connected all the continents, which we all know about, which scientists can verify that. And there are a ton of different dogman reports. You have baboon-like, ape-like looking, you have your werewolf, you have your German shepherd. The list can go on. That's for another time. What I'm trying to get at is that you had the Dinopithecus, which was an enormous baboon-like human creature that lived in Africa that could have easily also came up on the land bridges when hyenas did. Were North American as well as European hyenas. There was also the Amphicenoidae, which was before canines. Bears were really a thing. It was a tweener because bears and canines are really closely related. And when they look at that creature's hip structure as well as its front arms, it was very
It's very
capable,
similar.
yes, being able to walk bipedally and quadrupedally with ease. We have actually taken a bunch of reports of them being quadrupedal and bipedal, running on all fours, and then almost with that speed pushing themselves up onto two legs, and then running on two legs for a while. And think, if you do have longer front legs that are more like arms, they're going to be more useful when you're up on two legs, but yet any four-legged animal is going to run faster. So there's all these historical references now of, wait a second, they're reportings when people see something that looks like an enormous human-like baboon. Well, could that be something to do with the Dinopithecus? And then people are seeing bear man and these enormous werewolf-like bear creatures. Could that have something to do with the Amphicenoidae? Wait, now all these type 3 hyena-like werewolf creatures that have been seen, that there are cave hyenas that existed here, and there's also reports in Saudi Arabia that the Smithsonian took enormously creepy pictures of these cave systems where these hyenas were bringing back thousands of human and animal bones where they were just feasting on them. So there are historical references that tie into what people are seeing. So I guess that's where I kind of get a little confused when I do approach some of those individuals and they won't even hear what I have to say, because everything I just told you brings just as much merit, if not more merit, to the dogman topic than it does Sasquatch. And yet people know Sasquatch exists, and I agree because of the evidence. Yet how can someone just not even look at the dogman topic when we just spoke of what we spoke of?
I mean, everything you say is true there. I'm agreeing with you. Like I think when I first started researching and I started meeting other researchers in the Sasquatch field, you quickly realize that there's different factions of people that, how they view their research, or I don't even really call it that. I call it observations. And like one of them was a local person that's I'm very good friends with, Amy Boo. She has the Project Zoo book. So her thing was about getting science on board and she's gotten a lot of scientific backgrounds, biology, psychology, all of it, different people, doctors. And, like literally, I think that a lot of times they are very trepidatious about what they say. And, Amy would be a good person to talk to about it, getting science on board with this stuff. And, they have to worry about peer evaluation and how, it's going to look to them. But when you get a researcher like myself, who I have nothing to lose, and I'm only on this planet a short amount of time, so I'm going to learn as much as I can, that's where there's more freedom for someone like me. And, like, I'm okay if I'm right and I'm okay if I'm wrong. And I'm okay learning as I go.
I love that you just said that. That's excellent because that's the way I try to approach that. So kudos number 3 right there. Any sort of help you could get on board would be excellent, because I guess my response again to those people that are so worried about that, well, hey, Jeff Meldrum is super respected and I see his face all over the place talking about this. The late John Bindernagel, unfortunately, who passed away, again, super highly educated, super well respected. Jane Goodell. So the list goes on. What's the, obviously you don't have the answer to this, but I'm just throwing the answer out to the general public. What's the problem here? Isn't the point of a biologist to figure this type of stuff out? Isn't this the point of science? So we have a big issue I feel like we need to clean up,
I mean, here's what I really feel. I really feel like it's going to be people that are in the woods, normal everyday people that happen upon some kind of evidence, like the print that I just found, and you contacted me and I cast it. It's going to be someone like myself. It's going to be someone that's a hunter, that's out there, that sees something, photographs something, or a trail cam captures something, or a recording that's found, like that's recorded of an animal that they can't recognize. And that's going to be the basis for all of going forward with any kind of scientific stuff.
100%. Preach, friend, preach. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for popping on Midnight Lycanthropy tonight and hanging out with us and just really helping to differentiate some of the lore in the Shenango Valley area, and also just giving us a really cool inspect and insight from a Sasquatch researcher's point of view as to potentially what's occurring with the Dogman. And I would love to get you back on at some point. And like I said, keep me posted on anything. And anytime the North American Dogman Project or myself can help you out, make sure to let me know. And I look forward to collaborating with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you too. Like I'll be pouring over your website. I'll be following you on Facebook, and I'm learning as much as you're learning, and hopefully people out there are open-minded and start bringing evidence forward to you.
That's all we can really ask for. And no, that's why I appreciate people like yourself. And if you do ever want to join the North American Dogman Project, just let me know and I can get you in touch with my regional director and get you some paperwork to sign and we can get you aboard. But either way, if not, you're definitely a friend of ours. And like I said, stay in touch.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Of course, my friend. I will talk to you very soon. And thank you for your time. And you have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you again for everyone who stopped by tonight for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. If you did enjoy this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm. And until the next one, stay safe out there.